Hey Zwifters, welcome back to another recon. Stage 6, we're in Yorkshire. It's the Tour of Tewit this time. And can you remember the Marina Sprint and Caspats? And I said, this comes way too early in the race. Well, now it gets even worse with the Yorkshire reverse climb, or climb reverse, whichever way you look at it, comes at the 800 metre mark. And this is the only segment where we can pick up points throughout the whole race, except the fact that we're going to be doing it 3 or 4 times, respectively, dependent on your category. So let's dive in and take a look at this tough course, this maybe climber's course, in a bit more detail. Don't forget, just before we dive in and look at this profile, that at the end of the video I will flash up the predicted race times, and also I'll give you information how to access those recon notes and all those distance markers for the climb reverse, where you can pick up those all important points. But now let's take a look at the course profile. Bear in mind, this is just one lap that we're looking at here, so imagine doing this 3 or 4 times. It goes up and down quite a bit. The longest climb is the first climb, and it's this Yorkshire climb reverse. As I've said, lap 1, this is going to start at the 800 metres into the race. It's 1.2 kilometres long, and the finishing banner, the com banner, is at kilometre 2.0. The key thing about this com banner, we'll take a look when we get on course, is the banner is on a blind bend. You take a right hand turn and then you immediately hit the banner. So as I said, 1.2 kilometres, 4.1 average gradient. This first climb peaks out around about 10%. We then move on to the second climb here. This starts approximately 3.2 kilometers into the race. Again, this finishes at kilometer 4.4. Again, it maxes out around about 9%, and it's about 1,200 meters in length. The third climb, kilometer 5.6. This is the steepest part of the race. It's around about a kilometer long, so it finishes at kilometer 6.6, but it maxes out at 21%. So it is pretty steep in places, but it is just that middle section as you zigzag through the S-bends that we'll take a look at when we get on course in a bit more detail. The final climb on the lap is kilometer 8.2, and again finishes at 8.8. This maxes out at 9%. It's around about 700 meters long, and the end of the lap, this is important, comes at kilometer 10.8. But of course it is a multi-lap course, so once you pass that start finish banner, remember it's 800 meters to the start of that next preem point, that next segment, that next com. Alright, so in terms of the preems and that com point, there is just the one, but we are doing it 3 times for C and D, 4 times for A and B. You've got the fastest through points, which you can see here. Those are for the whole race. Again, it's probably going to be done pretty early, I'd imagine, the fastest times on this particular course, because that preem comes right at the start of the lap, and if you're 3 laps in or 4 laps in, the attrition, the tiredness is probably going to start to kick in. But don't forget, you've got the first across the line points, which are active every single lap, again whether it's 3 or 4 laps, and here are the first across the line points for you. Alright, so let's dive in, get on course and have a look in a bit more detail. Alright, so we're going to leave the pens, we're going to take a left and head down towards the Royal Pump Room here. But bear in mind, it's 800 metres till we get to that first segment, so it is going to be a fast start. It's a little bit of a descent as well till we get to this little junction here. Now bear in mind, we are not passing the start finish banner as we leave the pen, so there is no power up. So this first com is going to be taken mano a mano, as pure as it can get on this climb. No advantages given. 1.2 kilometers long this first com. You're going to hit it at 0.8 kilometer into the race, and again I'll leave the details below of where you're going to hit that on lap 2, 3 and 4. And then the key thing about this particular climb, although it's not particularly steep, it does peak out at 9%. It's the finish. The finish is blind. So on the mini map in the top right hand corner, you'll see this right hand 90-degree turn coming up here. That basically is where the banner is. The minute you take that right hand turn, the banner is just a couple of meters in front of you. So use that turn as your finishing point. That's the point where you need to be burying yourself, get to that junction and just keep the power on a little bit longer to maximize those points, whether it's first across the line or the fastest through. Alright, so once we've crested this first climb, you then got descent until kilometre 3.2, so recover, super tuck where you can, but it's kilometre 3.2 where you're going to start the second climb. But don't forget, none of the remaining climbs on this lap, and there's 3 more to do per lap, you're going to pick up points. So it's just about either surviving, holding on to the climbers, holding on to that front group, or yourself putting the power down and trying to break that group down. But bear in mind, this is a long race. Even for the A riders, this is going to be a minimum of 1 hour here. Alright, so we got to the top of this climb, we're then going to descend again. So again, opportunity to super tuck, recovery. Make the most of these recoveries. Bear in mind, you're going to be doing either 12 or 16 climbs in total throughout this whole race. The next climb is going to start at kilometre 5.6, 1,000 metres long, so you're finishing at 6.6. This is where you've basically got the switchback turns, max out here at 21% in places, so that really will favour the lighter riders. That's the point. Use the momentum, kick through that, push through that steep point, hold that momentum and hold that speed if possible. Alright, so we've crested the top once again, downhill, recover, super tuck, sit in those wheels as much as possible, and you're not going to hit the next climb to kilometre 8.2. It's the shortest one of the day, 800 metres, maxes out again at 9%, so it finishes at 8.8. When you crest this 4th climb of the lap, you've then got 2 kilometres of rolling road and descent until you get to that start finish banner and start in lap 2, 3 or even 4. Alright, so let's think about the finish. We get to the top of that final climb on lap 3 or lap 4. You've got 2 kilometres of rolling roads now to get to that finish banner. Sit in the wheels, take that recovery. I don't expect there be too many wheels to hide around and draft here as well, so there may be some opportunities to jump away early depending on how big your group is, but you need to use your racecraft and your race skill to try and figure out how are you going to tackle this fast finish. And it will be a fast finish no matter what, because the final kilometre is basically downhill. There's just a little tiny bit in the middle where it goes to 0, but it's predominantly you're going to see a minus figure in that top right hand corner all the way. So utilise that speed, utilise that momentum. As I said, there is opportunities to go early potentially here, dependent on the size of your group, also dependent on your power up. So let's take a look at the power ups in a bit more detail. Alright, so in terms of power up, we've got the feather. Of course we have, it's a hilly course, it's a course possibly for the climbers here as well. So we've got a feather again, whether you're trying to hang on or break away, that feather could be really useful. We've got the anvil, and don't forget, only use the anvil on the descents. Maybe you've been dropped on the climb and you're trying to close the gaps back up on the descents. That's something to utilise it for, or trying to break away immediately after the climb as well. There's also opportunities there as well. There is a video on my YouTube of the Surrey Hills race last year when I got dropped from the leading group initially just by the dropping anvils and leaving me there as a lighter rider. I did manage to close, I'll hasten to add, but it just shows you how effective that anvil can be. And then we've got the draft as well. So again, if you've got opportunities, particularly in that final 2 kilometres of the course there, or the lap should I say, then just to utilise that draft, get some recovery and sit in ready to start that next preem or the finish line, of course. Alright, so in terms of bike choice, I would be leaning towards more of a climbing bike for this course. I know it hasn't got the same elevation that you might see in somewhere like Surrey Hills, but it is not a million miles away. Bear in mind, we've got 12 or 16 climbs in total, 800 metres of elevation here for the A and B, 600 metres of elevation for the C and D riders, and it's these climbs where the race is going to be won or lost, and it's the climb where you're going to be picking up the points. So I'll be looking for as much support as I can for that climbing section. Maybe I won't be going for an out and out climber's bike, because again, I do think there's a threat as you go over the top in some of those flatter sections. Those who recover well may be pushing on, but as always, I'll leave a link in the description below for those Zwift Insider pages, and you can make the choice best suited to you. Alright, so that's it. That's the power-ups covered, that's the bike covered, that's the route covered. Remember, 3 or 4 laps. In terms of recon rides, you've got the Racing Without Borders recon, you've got the Electric Spirit recon. Another opportunity would go and visit the Zwift race place, where Cade Fravel will be doing a recon ride sometime over the weekend before Tuesday, but also he streams the recon on YouTube as well. So why not go and join him in that event and also watch along on the YouTube at the same time. Often Cade has some guests on there as well, and he gives a really great insight if you can't actually get to ride the course yourself as well. So that's it. As always, the times will pop up the minute I stop talking. Have a great week's training, guys, and I'll see you on the roads of Zwift. Ride on.